Yo, what's up, y'all? You are now tuned in to another episode of the Podcast with Tigmatic, and it's your boy. Hey, listen, I know it's 9 o'clock, you know, and we here. It's another one. We moving and booming. Listen, I want to thank everybody that's been listening to this show. It's been a great experience. We're on episode 77, and I have a alumni because this is her second time. Once you come on the second time, you're an alumni. This is actually not the pot podcast. This is a Stirring the Pot episode, actually. But
how can people pull it up?
Well, we'll get into that in a second, but just give me 1 second with the introduction because we're live right now. But folks, listen, I want to give a special shout out to Kenya. Y'all been watching, y'all been commenting, engaging in the episodes. I thank you guys so much. Special shout out to Puerto Rico. Special shout out to Venezuela. I found out about y'all. Shout out to India as well. Shout out to y'all. Thank you for watching. Everybody across the world that's watching, keep showing love. Next time when you're watching, comment. Say, hey, I'm such and such from India, Venezuela, or wherever I'm from, and shout a hi out, and I'll put your comment on the screen. So, like I said, I have the legend here again, Frankie Staton. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine. It's good to be back. It's good to see you again.
It's good to see you again, too. We be talking it up, and folks, y'all don't know, but me and Miss Frankie, we have some great conversations, and we talk about all sorts of things, music and industry, and we just talk about a lot of things, and it's great to have a friend like her because she's,
We talk about integrity.
Absolutely. We speak about integrity a lot, and it's great to have a friend like her because, not only can I learn things from her, she learns things from me as well. We literally had a conversation last night when I was teaching some things, and it's good to have a friend where they can show that they can listen as well as reciprocate,
Right.
And we do that for each other. So that's great within itself. So Miss Frankie, how you been doing though? Like, tell the people a bit about who you are for those that didn't watch the episode before. Introduce yourself. Or should I just run the little clip again like we did last time? It's your choice.
Up to you. It's whatever you want to do.
I think we should play the clip again just to give them a little synopsis of who you are and what you do out here. I think it's important. That's why I put you on here. So let's do that, shall we? Okay. Shall we do that? Hold on. Yes. Okay. Stick with me, folks. I'm a little that's not it. Stick with me, folks. I'm a little out of it right now. Today was a weird day for me, folks. I can't really tell y'all what the day was about, but it's a lot of things shifting and moving. And I got some things that I want to present to you guys soon. And I'll be able to talk about them in a little while. But what's going on here? I think I don't have this clip on this computer.
Well, don't worry about it. I'll tell
Yeah,
him.
we're not going to worry about it for the time being.
Yeah, I'll tell him. I'm just
you tell him. You tell him like only you can tell him.
That was always in love with music and songwriting and entertaining. And I am from High Point, North Carolina. And my dream was always to write songs and to travel and do my music. And so I came to Nashville, Tennessee in 1981 with every dream that everybody else has that comes to this city, and was met with a lot of resistance because of the color of my skin. And I still stayed and forged ahead, and it was, my race was always an issue. And I figured out that if I was being treated the way, marginalized, gaslighted, and discriminated against, other people were as well of color. And so I challenged a story from the New York News and Record in 1997 at the world famous Bluebird Cafe, and had the first in history Black country music showcase. And from there, I just wanted to give African American country music singers a platform and a chance to be heard. And we went a few years like that, and I was just not met with any welcoming into the genre or anything. And I subsequently stopped, but I filmed everything because I thought that someday they would say that the artists were not country, were not credible. So I have a record of all of it. However, 4 years ago, Rolling Stone magazine called me and asked me if I really did it, and I said, yeah. And so they kind of freaked out and said, we want to hear it. And they said it was credible.
Yeah.
And from there, I got invited into um, an exhibit at the Country Music Hall of Fame called American Currents, as well as my first appearance on the Grand Ole Opry. So I would just like to say that to see how Beyonce has been treated in this genre, who now has who is leading 11 Grammy nominations, to see how Beyonce has been treated, didn't get a nod or nothing from Nashville, but she's got 11 Grammy nominations and has taken country music to people that's never listened to it before. Then it's no wonder that I was treated the way I was. If you treat a worldwide diva the way you treating Beyonce, well, no wonder you treated me. I was nobody, and she's Queen Bee, you know. So that's who I am. I'm just a person that stood up for what I believed in. I still love the music, still have my favorites. I'm currently in the studio finishing up my first EP with a tribute to Loretta Lynn that I sang on the opera. It's called Forever Loretta. So
Oh
that's,
man, that's awesome.
yeah.
So let's talk about that a bit more. We talked about it a little bit on the last episode that you were on,
Yeah.
but let's talk about the fact that you wanted to step up for African American country artists. Um, in that time, I know it was pretty hard because you spoke on it before, but for those that are just watching and just seeing you for the first time, tell them a bit more about what it was really like.
Well, I knew as a writer trying to pitch original material, it was just always, I was met with so much resistance. I couldn't get decent critiques on my songs, and was even told by a couple of publishers, well, I don't believe you wrote it. I don't believe you could write a song like that. And I just knew I had this feeling, it was like this blanket over Nashville, that we were not welcome here, and why were we here, and why would we try to do it, and and all of that. And so I ran into this story my aunt sent me from North Carolina about, has country music become a soundtrack for white flight? And what they said in that story by the three top people that ran Nashville, Tony Brown at MCA, and Jim Ed Norman at Warner Brothers, and Tim Dubois at Arista, all said they couldn't find credible African American country singers, and I just knew. I said, man, they have no respect for us. And I thought, if you never do it again, it's in print, Frankie. You need to challenge the story. And so I challenged the story, and it will always be grateful to Amy Curlin, who owns the most famous, who actually started the Writers' Nights in Nashville, and owns the most famous listening room in the city in terms of songwriters, and that's the Bluebird Cafe. And
Right.
that's where I wanted to have my showcase, and Amy was all for it. And it was an event unlike unto any other thing they'd ever seen. And I was really, really involved, probably overly involved, because I knew the level that the songs had to be. I knew the level the singer had to be. I knew the level that the musicians that were playing the show had to be. So I was, you just didn't walk up in there on me. I mean, I chose who I felt was the best, and I chose songs for them. Some of them didn't want to sing them, but either they sang them or they weren't going to be on the show. So
I know that's right.
I had a really good band, and even the songwriters. I knew that as a writer, if somebody was going to sing your music, you were excited about it. And I knew that the songwriters would be glad that we were singing their music, because there's so many writers and so few shots to get a cut. And some of the writers whose songs we were singing showed up at our showcases just excited as I don't know what.
Right.
And our story went all the way around the world. It went all the way around the world. And Nashville just resisted. Just they never opened doors. I couldn't hardly meet with people. But in the interim, we were gaining steam because people knew about us across America. And then the BBC called, and I just started getting calls from everywhere. And they were like, we know there's a problem in Nashville. You know,
I love the way you do that foreign accent.
everybody knows it, and Nashville just we don't care, we're not you're not gonna be in country music. And I had a child that I had to raise that was in a very prestigious prep school here, and I had to choose between my child and my music, and his life took over mine for many years. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with that, because to raise your child is definitely an important thing. And your child is grown now, and he's going on to do great things as well. Shout out to your son.
Yeah.
How many children do you have?
I have 2 children. I have a daughter and a son.
Shout out to your daughter and your son.
Yeah, my
So,
daughter is in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My daughter and my 3 grandchildren are in Winston.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. That's definitely awesome. So, as you went on and had these issues with people not giving you the spark that you needed. What pushed you to keep going?
I always was fortunate enough to be able to get work as a live entertainer. And, I would just play whatever people requested, and then I would play one of my songs. I would never announce this is my song. I would just see what their reaction was. And they go, well, I never heard that song before. Whose song is that? And I say, it's mine. They're like, girl, that's a good song. I'd buy that right now if that was on CD. It was things like that. And of course, getting in Jason Bloom's workshop was a real game changer for me. Jason really inspired.
Shout out to Jason Bloom. He was on one of my episodes. It's the guy who showed all the gold records of Backstreet Boys, platinum records. I'm sorry, because he would correct me on that. Yeah. 22 million on one, 24 million on the other.
Yeah.
Over 50 million sold worldwide, folks. So shout out to Jason Bloom. And I got to have him back as well.
Well, it was because of Jason that I went to the Kauai Music Festival, the Kauai Songwriting Festival. And he said, you need to get out of Nashville and people need to hear your music. And so it was because of Jason. He was running a workshop over there. And I went, and I will always be grateful for the time that I was over there for a week, and I loved it. I didn't really get everybody, but it was a great experience for me.
Oh, man, that's awesome. So on this EP that you have, what can the people expect?
Well, of course, it's country. A lot of it is. I got a couple of songs on there that are not. I wrote everything except one song, which is called On the Other Side. It was written by good friends of mine, Tom Botkins and Kevin Denny, which is a tribute to my sister, who I lost earlier this year, and my baby brother. So that I've always loved that song, and it's been performed for years on the Grand Ole Opry. Tom wrote it about his father, and he can't even sing it. He'll start crying if he sings it, you know.
My condolences to you on your loss to your sister.
Oh yeah,
Um,
and my baby brother, both of them.
and your baby brother.
Yeah,
Yes. Like I told you, you're aware of this. I lost my aunt, not that long ago as well. Um, you know, so I can understand how it is to try to get over the hump, and you want to do something in their memory,
that's right.
and celebrate them,
That's
because
right.
we are to celebrate those who have left this earth.
That's
Um,
right. That,
because in death, that's not the end. We are going to see them again, and
that's
that's what the good book says. That's what the Lord says. So, we are going to see them again. So, okay, let's get into it. It's question time. Even though I've been asking questions, but you know what I mean. All right. What's the name of your EP?
well, I don't know. I'm really thinking about calling it Full Circle.
Full Circle. I like that.
Yeah, I'm
It's
thinking
a
about
little catchy.
Full Circle. At first, I had Finally Frankie, but I think Full Circle
Ooh,
is.
I like Finally Frankie too.
But
Now you got me like tossed up between the two. I kind of like them both.
I have finally gotten back to my original reason for coming to Nashville. Which is coming full circle. Everything I went through, and working finally back to my music and working on my music, and that's I'm really just excited to be able to just have the freedom to do my music and write songs and get in the studio and do a little bit of recording. I just literally do it song by song because it's so expensive and everything. And I've always been the type person, I want to pay my people, my band, my backup singers, the studio musicians, the producers. And so it takes a while to cut an album the way you want to cut it. And I take it slow because I want the right instrumentation on it. And, I want the right backup singers and everything. And I want the right intro and solos. And so I'm just real persnickety about my music.
I hear that. I hear that. So who did all the production on this EP?
Well, I had several producers. The songs I'm presenting tonight, the first song is called Leading Lady. That was actually on Polygram Records, Mercury Polygram Records. So that was Stan, I can't even remember his last name, but he produced that album. That was a compilation CD. And I'll tell the story of how I got on that CD.
Please
And
do.
on that, on that, on that, on that album. And then the other song I'm producing is a song that's very near and dear to my heart. I'm bringing to the table tonight and playing for the first time in public. Uh, is a song called "The Shack on the Hill," and that was just a really, really God thing, a spiritual experience. So I'll talk about that as well. Um, but on the EP, everything that I've written has to do with real life dreams and acquiring or achieving the things that you've set out to achieve. And so, like I said, I wrote 9 of the songs, and then one song was written by Tom Botkin and Kevin Denny. So
Okay.
I'm excited about it. And your Train's going to be on there. I played Train on your other show. But when the
Yes,
train
we
leaves the
did.
station, will
Yes,
also be
ma'am.
as well. And Train was a song that I wrote because it's really in line with people. People will tell you all day what you can't do, but when you do it, they're ready to get right in your face. Girl, I knew you was gonna get a break. I knew you. I'm like, you must be crazy. You've been telling me for years I ain't never gonna be nothing. Now you. So that's why I came up with this. When the train leaves the station, everybody wants to ride.
Right. And that is a true statement.
It really
Once
is.
or as we said in today's time, once you get on, everybody want to hop on and get a piece.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great analogy, and it's a great country song. I love it. You know
Yeah.
what I did last episode when we played it. Um, but country music. Let's talk country music a bit more. This is what we're here for.
Yeah.
You and I had this conversation, but I want to bring it to the forefront for the masses to hear your take on this as well. Tell me, how do you feel about how the world is perceiving or even taking the fact that Beyonce has this country album and they're saying that she's not country? What's your take on that?
I don't think it's the world. I think it's the hardcore country music listeners who are modern traditionalists, who cut their teeth on Merle Haggard, George Jones, Willie Nelson,
Dolly Parton,
Waylon Jennings, and well, see, Dolly was a big crossover, you know. But I think they're intimidated by it. I think they don't know what to do about it. I remember when she performed a few years ago on the CMAs, and I was looking at some of my country music heroes standing there rolling their eyes at her. And I said, I cannot believe you are treating Beyonce that way, and standing up looking at her with disgust. Who wants to have an industry that they don't expand? Who wants a business that they don't expand out? Everybody wants to grow their business. And that was the same question I had 30 years ago. Who wants to keep country music exactly the same forever? Young people gonna take it and do what they want to do with it. I don't care what you say. Now, if you look back at country music history, country music didn't want electric instruments on the Grand Ole Opry. They didn't want that. They wanted to keep it almost like a bluegrass sound. But people, the artists, the writers will propel it to where it's supposed to be. I remember when Shania Twain came to Nashville. They hated Shania. I mean, Shania, one of the biggest artists in the world. Oh, she can't sing. They trashed her. But what I was listening to was the radio. The radio. Every time the phone rang, I want to hear Shania Twain, Any Man of Mine. I want to hear Shania Twain, all day, all night long. Feel Like a Woman. I want to hear Shania Twain. And I said, that's who you should be listening to.
Right.
I went to the CMAs that year.
Now, I heard some people say this. I heard some people now here's some of the things that I was in a column, talking to some people on online. And one person said this to me: for all the bigots, it's the color of her skin and nothing more. They can't handle that their white-dominated industry is being shaken up by a black girl. But I mean, what do they know? They think Luke Bryan is country.
That's true.
And then there's another person who said, it's hilarious that they put on a cowboy hat and a studded jacket and all of a sudden she's country. Although she isn't from the country either.
Well, she's
from Texas.
She's from Texas, man. I mean, that's where they wear the cowboy boots and have the rodeos and stuff at,
Absolutely.
But you know what? I'm gonna tell you, this is the most famous quote I've ever heard. There was a president of Warner Brothers. His name was Jim Ed Norman, and he told Valerie, people hear with their eyes.
That's right.
It doesn't matter how country you are. If you're black, you're not country in their eyes. You could sound like a bluegrass singer, but if you stand in there black, she's not country. She's not country. And there's nothing you can do about it because they're not going to change their mind. But the bottom line is for the African-American artists, which now we got everything. We got Mexican-Americans, African-Americans. We got all kind of people here in Nashville now trying to get a break. But I say find your audience and keep performing. Don't back down. Don't stop. Keep going. Because they're out there and they want to hear you. They want to hear their stories sung and brought to light. Don't back down.
Absolutely. I thought, honestly, that the elements and instruments are what make a song country, not the race, is what I was told many years ago.
I think it's the elements and instruments. I agree with you on that. But in country music, it's a certain element of people that want to hear that twang thing going on. If you ain't got that right there, down yonder, it ain't country. But country music has moved far beyond it. I'm for the twang and I'm for the pop. I'm for all of it. I love all of it, man. I can sit there all night and listen to Marty Brown sing country music. I love traditional country music, man. Merle Haggard was one of the greatest songwriters that ever lived. I'm telling you, Merle Haggard could write some music. You know, I was a Glenn Campbell fanatic, but he was more of a pop sounding country singer. You know, I love George Jones. He had that wine with him. I love all of that. I am a Hank Williams aficionado. Hank's one of the
So,
greatest.
who is your all-time favorite country singer?
Oh God, how can you pick one? Okay, I'm gonna do it this way. If it's
All
old
time.
school, okay,
I
if
mean,
it's
it's been
okay, no, I got it. I got it. If it's old school country music, male is Hank Williams. If it's modern or like 90s country music, it is my man. Oh Lord have mercy. Out of Texas, George Strait, man. George Strait cut some of the greatest country songs that's ever been cut. You know, and then I got to give a hard one for Garth Brooks because I like Garth.
now that's my guy. Garth is my guy. He's the one who I grew up on listening to country music when I did listen to country music.
Garth.
Garth Brooks was the guy. You know,
He changed
the
Nashville.
star-studded jackets and everything, his swag, everything.
He
It
changed
was definitely
Nashville.
to love.
He changed Nashville and he said, I don't want my tickets to be so much that people can't afford to come to see me. And he put a cap on how much the tickets cost for people to come to see him. I respected that, you know.
So let's get into it, okay?
Yeah.
What can they expect on this EP that is different from any other country artist?
Well, I just think they can expect what's inside of my head to come out. And I have one song I'm real excited about. It's called Old Sam. And it's a song about my grandfather's mule and how much I wanted to be that mule's friend, and that mule didn't want to have nothing to do with me. My granddaddy used to plow with him. And I love animals. I was fascinated with him. And it took me back in writing this song because I miss my family so much. They're all gone. I miss them so much. My mother, my father, my grandmothers, grandfathers, uncles, aunts. I mean, cousins. I've lost so many family members. But it took me back to remember when I was a kid running around out there on that farm in the middle of tobacco fields, you know, with pig pens and chicken coops and barns and a mule that my granddaddy plowed behind. It just took me back to the life I lived and how hard they worked to raise us and the morals they instilled in us and how much they wanted us to do good, to carry on, you know, to build a legacy on top of theirs, you know.
So how do you maintain your authenticity as a country artist, an African American country artist at that? How do you maintain your authenticity without trying to appease that twang, as you say?
Well, I don't think that's hard at all because as African Americans in country music, our stories haven't been told yet. And that's what I couldn't understand all those years ago when I was challenging the country music industry. I knew that I had a history in this country, and I felt like my history was a great history, and I wanted to sing about it. And I wanted to sing about my forefathers and my ancestors that worked so hard to not only get freed from slavery, but to acquire land and to work and to have things and to pass it on to the next generation. You know, I just wanted to sing about that because I was so proud of them, you know.
Yeah, I understand that because to tell our story is definitely important. And I think that a lot of time
It's not a negative story. It's not a negative story. It's a very positive story. As they said when I was growing up, you know, they would say, we are survivors of strong people. And people would say, well, why do you say that? Because we said the weak ones died on the way, meaning that the weak slaves died in the ships. But the people that made it to the shore were the strong ones, and we are their descendants. So we're strong people.
Right. And I agree. You know, I think that, since America's inception, they have been trying to hide history. And it is going to continue with the next 4 years upon us and ahead of us, rather. It is going to continue. So, do you think you'll get politically inspired to sing about anything political?
Probably so. But let me say something. That's why it's so important that our families preserve our history and pass it on. Now, on my father's side of the family, I was taught who my Granny Harriet was, and she had been a slave, and how my grandmother bartered to this man. She was going to move in with Papa, who died when he was 97 years old. He was my grandmother's father. And my grandmother said, I will iron your shirts if you carry Granny Harriet up to Papa's. And the man said, all right, we'll do it. And she went up there and lived with Papa until she died. He lived in a little farmhouse with a tin roof. And my grandmother never allowed my great granddaddy to go to a nursing home. And she had a bunch of brothers and sisters. And she sat down and had a meeting and said, all right, everybody gets a day. You go up, give Papa a bath, put him in the bed, feed him, put him in the bed, get him up the next morning, give him breakfast, and we'll take it from there. And that's the way they did it. They took care of Papa, and anything that man wanted, they gave him. And so I know my history. You know what I'm saying? I know the stories about them. I know where some of the slaves are buried that's in our family.
Absolutely.
And my aunt fought for those graveyards not to be torn apart because slaves were buried there. And you can walk the rows of the church, Zion's Hill United Methodist Church in Greensboro, North Carolina. And every road that you go back further, you get back to where the slaves are because they were the first ones buried there. I know my history. You got to know your history. If you don't know your history, you'll be lost.
Now, with that, I need you to do one favor for me because you just dropped the gem out there. I need you to put your hand out like this. Take the other hand like this and go like this.
Stirring the pot.
That's right. I need you to do it for me now. Do it on the camera so they can see it better. There we go. Stir that pot. Yeah. So that's something that I do for my guests. Every time they say something that's a gem for people, for them to, be interacting in the episode, to interact.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's pretty cool. So I agree with you to piggyback on what you said. Our family history is definitely important. And a lot of us don't know our family history because, unfortunately, some people come from families where the families don't really talk. So, because of that, you won't know your history and you can't pass on the lineage and the things that you know.
That's right.
For those that know, is a great thing because then the history can continue on for generation after generation. But when you start a new generation, the history starts from that generation and it continues from there as well.
Well, my family was owned by a man from Scotland named Hamilton Lindsay, and they carried the Lindsay name to this day. So I remember meeting a guy from Scotland. He said, I'm Scottish. I said, I'm a Scottish lass. And so he said, what you talking about? I said, I'm a Lindsay. And so he said, you are. That's part of the influence in our life, whether you want to admit it or not,
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's awesome. So, how has the fast-paced competition in country music helped your mental well-being as a creator of country music? With all the stories and things that you have to tell.
Not so much the fast pace of it, but the one thing that I learned in this city, and I truly, truly respect with every fathom of my being, is that there are some brilliant songwriters in Nashville. There are some brilliant writers here. And you can go sit in the Bluebird and just hear songs that's on the radio all day, that songs that should be on the radio, songs that may never be on the radio. But I am telling you, there are some people here that will get down in that writer's room and they will dig and rip those songs apart, put them back together. And of course, that's what I learned from Jason Bloom.
Right.
I truly have tremendous respect for the writers, and I wouldn't take nothing for my journey. I'm at a point in my life now where I don't feel stressed to try to jump on every little wave of music and do what everybody else is doing. I just want to tell my story and just want to inspire people.
That's awesome. And I think that story definitely needs to be heard, which is why we are here. So tell the people what growing up growing up in your hometown as a kid, what it was like for you.
Well, it was just I was always different. I was always very strange because I was walking around with this radio in my head, hearing music, and I didn't realize that other people didn't hear music the way I did. You know, I could be listening to Simon and Garfunkel or God, the Beatles or Earth, Wind and Fire, but I was listening to specific instruments. I was paying attention to weird things like French horns and fretless bass. And I mean, just really, I was listening to the layers of music, all the layers, the strings. I'm a string fanatic, you know, and just different riffs and intros and exits in songs and solos in songs. And I was just very, very different. And it was nowhere for me to go. That's the frustrating part. It was nowhere for me to go, no one for me to talk to in my hometown about how music was influencing me. And so I was just there with my little record player, wearing these songs out, these little 45s out. And then if I wasn't doing that, I was listening to the radio and I was playing the piano. I was just a music fanatic.
So what was the most challenging part of launching your career?
It was getting through the negative people, the crazy people who would tell you what you can't do. And I took advantage of every opportunity that came my way. And that's where I got the positive motivations from, was performance, the live performance end of it. And people said, wow, you're talented, you shouldn't quit, keep going, you know. That was hard. And of course, dealing with the part about, well, why you want to do this? Because you're black.
Right.
I had to answer that question so many times I got sick of hearing it, you know. Well, you
I
know,
can imagine, especially when you were younger. Oh, it's a little chilly in here. I need my
well,
hood on. My bald head getting cold.
why would a colored woman want to do it? I'm like, we're not colored, we're black. You know, why would a Negro want to do it? You know, I mean, I just got sick of being asked that. I just thought, you know, I didn't want any special treatment. I just wanted them to hear what was on the tape. That's all. Just listen to the tape of the CD and tell me what you think about this one song. That's all I want. Is that asking too much of you? You know, that's all I want. I wanted what every other writer in Nashville wants. And you know what? You know what's weird about that is that it wasn't so far reaching that I wanted it, because everybody comes to me. I want you to hear this song I wrote. I want you, and I just look at them and go, I know exactly how you feel, honey.
Right.
I know how you feel. I know what it feels like not to be listened to. You know, I understand, you know.
So, are there any themes or messages you consistently try to convene in your work? Well,
Well,
convey, not convene. I'm sorry.
I try to be positive. But sometimes you have an idea for a song that might be negative in the beginning, but it ends up on a positive note, you know.
Right.
I just try to inspire, man, because this world is so weird. People need to be inspired, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I'm going to play one of your songs right now just to give them.
You playing Leading Lady?
Yes, I am. We are going to play Leading Lady.
Well, I want
Tell
to
the people, the feeling and the purpose of writing this song.
This was my first record. This song. This is the 40th anniversary of Leading Lady
Oh, really?
being cut, and this is a song that was on Mercury Polygram Records, and I didn't even believe the man was the president of the record company. And I thought I really didn't, because I had been turned down so much, and I almost blew that one. And long story short, he was staying in the Marriott while they were building his house, but I didn't know all that. He would come talk to me every night, and you would ask me to play "Jesus Is the Answer for the World Today."
So
And
wait, you was talking to the president and didn't even know you was talking to the president the whole time. Oh wow. Oh wow. So he never even revealed himself. So basically he just was trying to check out your personality and see the type of person you were if he wanted to keep going on with you on the label. So that's pretty awesome within itself because you know, especially in those times, a lot of those times they just treated you like a nigger. You know, excuse my language, folks, but we gotta say it like it was.
Wow. Boy.
I gotta say it like it was. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how they tried to be back then. You know, I'm not saying that you were, but you get what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, I get it. And have
yeah, you know, back then.
Look, make no mistake, have been called it many times.
Right. So I'm not saying it to say that you are. I'm saying it to say that was the time. So I want people to get that in their head, like what the time was like.
But you know what I want to say? The thing that I'm the proudest of concerning
what's that, Miss Frankie?
Is that, and this is a song that I'm working on right now, that really wasn't about me. That was about them.
Right.
And once I got to the point where I understood that's not about you, Frankie, because you know you weren't raised that way. That's about them. Then I look at people, I see people differently now when they use that word with me. You know?
Right. And that's the reason why I said it that way is because I wanted people to have an understanding of the time it was.
It was awful.
So with that being said, right, this man didn't treat you that way is the point that I was trying to make.
No, he did not.
He didn't treat you that way. He took his time and he didn't see you as that. He's seen you as a person with talent.
That's right.
And a person of integrity, which we talk about all the time. Like I was saying.
He said, "Do you write music?" I see him every night. He asked me to play the same song every night. Jesus is the answer for the world today. And I play it every night. And so he was leaving the next day. So he said, "Do you write music?" I said, "Of course." He said, "Well, play me a song." So I played him this song, Leading Lady, and he said, "You wrote that?" And I thought, yeah, when everybody else had said, "I don't believe you wrote it."
So what was his personality like dealing with him, you know, like when you just had regular conversation?
He was just a very nice man to me. I didn't realize that he was going through a divorce. They were building his house in Nashville for him. He was staying in the Marriott till his home was built. I didn't realize any of it. I'd see him every night for weeks, you know, and he said, he gave me his card and said, "Come and see me. You know, I like that song." And I thought, that man ain't no president or no polygram. He must be the janitor. You're gonna tell me the way they done treated me in this city, the president of a label gonna give me his card? And so one day I was on Music Row. He had told me my secretary is Trish, a blonde girl. Come on over and see us. I thought, oh, you know what, Frankie, you better go up in there, because if you don't go in there, you ain't never gonna know. Expect him to be sweeping the floor. Expect him to be sweeping the floor, but go on in there. And I went in there. I walked up to the desk. I said, "You must be Trish." She said, "I am." So I was kind of like, I said, "This man gave me his card." She said, "Steve, Frankie's here, the girl you always talking about." And I was like,
she already knew who he was. So that's awesome within itself as well, which means he was talking about you. And it goes back to what I said. I'm not going to repeat it because some people might feel some type of way about it.
Yeah, but
He didn't see. I wasn't gonna repeat it anyway. I just only did that to make a point in the first time I said it anyway.
Very, very kind to me.
Right. So with
and
that
I know
within itself was awesome.
The producer did not want me on that album, but
Really?
he said I run this label. And see, it was my song. I wrote the song. It was my song. And so, and I own part of the publishing on the song too, so.
And that's awesome. That's awesome.
And this is a very song that another publisher told me there's no way you could write a song like this.
Well, we're going to get into this song, Leading Lady. And folks, if you like it, put the fire emojis out. This is a country song from Miss Frankie Staton, the legend. This is my dear friend. And I love talking to Miss Frankie because she's so vibrant. Her energy is always up. Even when we're on the phone, folks. So I want y'all to know that. Even when we're on the phone just talking, her energy is up. And I think that is so awesome within itself. So I think that this is a treat for y'all. Check it out. Listen up. Leading Lady, Miss Frankie Staton.
I tried out for love many times, but I could never get a starting role. I guess no one thought I was ready to headline their show. But I'm tired of being parts and standing with a line or two every now and then. After this audition, the major roles will begin. I'm the leading lady everywhere I go. People look at me and say, there goes the star of this show. I may never win an Oscar, I may never make the news, but I'm the leading lady when it comes to loving you. I'm so glad I made it. I just love the warmth of your flame. If my face isn't shown on the silver screen and the world never knows my name, I'm a star that outshines them all. 'Cause sweetheart, you gave me my break. And playing the part of your superstar is worth all the pain and heartache. I'm the leading lady
Okay.
everywhere I go. People look at me and say, there goes the star of the show. I may never win an Oscar, I may never make the news, but I'm the leading lady when it comes to loving you. Yes, I'm the leading lady when it comes to loving you.
Okay. Okay. Oh, it was more?
No, that was it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I wrote that song for women who know I am my husband's leading lady.
That's
That was
right.
the reason I wrote that song. And I so many people just through the years play Leading Lady Girl, play my song now, you know.
Yeah.
This is
I
a song
like
I played for Mac Vickery, who took me into Sony and tried to get me signed as a staff writer after he heard it. He said, if you wrote that song, honey, you need to be somewhere doing something with somebody. So I thought that was pretty cool, you know.
So what happened with Sony?
Nothing.
Miss
He
Frankie be flat out to the point, y'all. Y'all gotta love it.
what baby, you
Like,
know.
you gotta love it. She be flat out to the point.
You know what? Here's the bottom line. I was down in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, with my friends from England a couple of years ago. Well, I would say like 4 or 5 years ago, actually, before COVID started. And we were at the Alabama Songwriters Hall of Fame. And the first gold record that I saw was Mac's. And you know, Mac is no longer on this earth.
Yes.
And I walked up to it and just touched it and started crying. Here's the beautiful thing. The beautiful thing is that a Sony staff writer believed in me enough to take me in there and say, somebody need to sign this woman. We laid down 4 of my songs and he went in there and fought for me. And I mean, I had my fingers crossed. I knew this was the biggest publisher of country music in Nashville. They had 50 staff writers. And I knew when he came out that office, they wouldn't say anything. He was in there like 45 minutes fighting for me. But you never forget a person that does that for you. You know,
That's
that
right.
you never forget. You never forget. And
That's
so
right.
when I saw his name, I just melted. I just really had a conniption down there in Muscle Shoals. And my friends from England were like, what is the problem, love? I can't believe you're crying. And I was trying to explain to him that this was the man that, you know, that went in and fought for a deal for me. You know, I'll never forget it as long as I live. And that's the first time I saw the insides of a major publishing house like that. And I knew
That's awesome.
That's
to
what
have somebody fight for you, first of all, is awesome within itself. To be in the presence of a building like that at that time, because it was one of the most prestige places to be in at that time. From what we all know, still to this day, it still is.
There's a singer here named Charlie Crockett that has a Grammy nomination that had recorded one of Mac's songs. And I thought, well, Mac, you're on the other side, but they're still playing your music, brother. You know, and that made me feel good.
Miss Frankie, what you think about October London?
I'm not familiar with it. What is that?
Oh, October London, he's an artist, but he switches up. I think you should get familiar with him and listen to his music.
There's all kinds of music, I bet. That
he has, yes, he has a sound that's very soulful. But he reminds you of a like Marvin Gaye.
Oh, really?
Switch it up. It's just amazing. His sound is amazing.
I always wanted to cook Marvin a chicken.
So let me ask you this. Do you prefer working alone or with the team on projects?
Oh, no, I can't. You know, no, I couldn't do all that by myself. I have to work with people. I mean, I can't do it all. I mean, I can come up with an idea, develop the lyric and the song, but you know, and play it on the piano and sing it for you. But as far as it goes with me, I love to co-write, I love to rewrite, and I love to work with, you know, there are some of the greatest instrumentalists in this city you'll ever find. And the fact that I can get some of them to play on my records, oh my God. I was just at a concert last Tuesday night, and I saw 2 of the finest musicians in this city, Buddy Green, who co-wrote the song, Mary, did you know that your baby boy, that song, he wrote that song, which is a worldwide Christmas hit, you know. I was sitting there looking at him. He had probably 20 harmonicas. He'd put down one, pick up another and play it. Then he wore the guitar out, and the guy that was with him was a piano virtuoso. So, and I was
the piano your favorite instrument?
Well, it is. I really want to enjoy guitar, but me, I don't know. I'm left-handed, so it would be a little harder.
Wow.
But I'm a left-handed player, so I had the guitar upside down. I was trying to play it out. Bad. Yeah.
So, how do you balance personal expression with audience expectations?
Well, I think you have to know what message you want to get over to people. And I think that's how you build your audience. If they know what to expect from you and they don't like what they've heard, they're not going to come. And I think that's how you actually build a following, you know. I just want them to always expect me to sing something with some integrity and some encouragement, because we need encouragement in this world today.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I agree because it's getting a little crazy out here. So, encouragement
Because I've been told,
and
because
positive influences is definitely needed in this time.
but here's the deal. You have to take your negativity and not put it on somebody else. Because I was told no so many times and looked at like I was crazy. I don't want to do that to anybody else. I really don't want to do it to anybody else. If I didn't learn anything else from negativity, I learned that I don't want to treat other people the way I've been treated.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, walk us through your process for creating a new song or a piece of art.
Well, I think it's all different. There is no one way to do it.
So give us one of your ways.
Well, you just get naturally inspired by something. Now, like the song we're getting ready to introduce, it was a real spiritual thing with me. I was standing there in the great state of Minnesota and standing at a dear friend of mine's house. And he had lost his wife and he wanted to do something to remember her. So he said, let's have a barbecue. So then, no, he said, let's have a vintage car show. And his daughter said, well, Daddy, let it be a barbecue. And then he said, we need some music. So that's how I got involved with it. But I didn't really know his story. I didn't know his story. I knew his wife. I used to be their waitress, but I did not know his real story. His story is, which is blows my mind, makes me think of something like John Wayne or somebody, right?
Right.
He built a vacation home on the Canadian border. That's the drive-in. They saved their drive-in concession stand, took it to a place called the Little Cabin, I believe. And down here, we tear down everything and throw it away, but it is in mint condition. And so they took me there to show it to me. It's absolutely beautiful. So that's their drive-in concession stand. And
so explain this place to the people. What is it like?
Well, this place where the drive-in concession stand is.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a place. It's like a tourist attraction. It's like all these buildings and things. And there had been like something in that city, like a little post office and a little church and things like that, a little house. They moved it there. And it's like going back in time when you go there and there's like a police car there, like Andy Griffith, like the Andy Griffith show used to have. I mean, and there's a whole lot of stuff there you can go see. And they drove me through there and I was completely fascinated with it. But when I saw the concession stand, I remember concession stands like that. I freaked out when I saw that because I hadn't seen one in years. But we just don't preserve anything anymore. We won't be able to pass on to young people what stuff used to look like because we're so busy tearing it down here to build all these condos and stuff.
Right.
But they were telling me about. He said, I built this house on the Canadian border. I didn't understand what he was saying. You have a house at he said, no, this house. I'm like, you built this house that we're in? And he said, yeah. And he said, but my wife loved it. She didn't like to leave it. So I just was fascinated with it. And I said, well, what did he said? I tore it down and brought it down here and built it back. And I was like, how that's amazing. And I went out in the yard one day and I instantly started seeing the trucks, the big flatbeds, bringing all those logs up that hill to build that house back. It just blew my mind. And it was so beautiful and so natural on the inside. I see why she loved it,
Yeah.
And his daughter would say, her name is Cindy, she would say, Daddy calls his house the shack on the hill. And every time she say shack on the hill, I'd go, wow, the shack on the hill. The shack on the hill, and I
So
just
this is the place, folks. The shack on the hill.
and that's the flower bed that his wife planted. Isn't it beautiful?
Yes. Yeah.
That's the shack on the hill. So I've been up there twice, Labor Day weekend, 2023 and 2024. They have this big shindig, and like 4 different car clubs showed up. I've never seen so many beautiful cars in my life. And the people just love him. They love Hank. He was married to his wife 65 years. And he keeps her memory alive. And it's just amazing to see the whole thing. And this year he got up and said, now, hug somebody, shake the hand. I said, Hank, you sound like a preacher. He said, I ain't no preacher now. And those are the cars. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And now I'll show you my favorite car. I got to ride in it. And these cars are in mint condition. And
Yeah,
so,
they look pretty vintage and kept up.
oh no, it's every one of them. You'll find
They're
one.
worth millions of dollars probably right now.
There'll be another one that'll be even better than the first one you saw. And so you like, wow. But the thing that amazed me about the recording process, when I came home, I started working on the song, and I was telling their life story, everything that I had learned from him about his life, his marriage, his family. And we got in the studio and started working on it. This was produced by Chip and Billy Davis. Chip just came off the road with the group Alabama. Billy traveled 13 years with Charlie Pride. They're both producers, both instrumentalists, both singers. And so they contribute greatly to the stuff they produce. And so Chip and Billy, I was talking about his wife and how, it's a wonderful thing to try to celebrate through your grief. And
Absolutely.
nobody wasn't saying nothing. And I said, what's wrong with y'all? And they said, we just lost our mama. I'm like, oh no. And so, they said, we understand. We're trying to help our father get through it. So then when I went to get the CDs printed, it took longer than usual. And I called Phil and I said, Phil, what took so long? He said, my mother-in-law died. We're trying to help my father-in-law. We had to get through the funeral. And so I thought, well, everybody's going through this. Somebody dies every day. Maybe this song can inspire somebody to do what, the Shalonka family does up in Hampton, Minnesota, celebrate through the grief. Do something to remember that person.
And
Now,
this is the mural of George Floyd at their shack, right?
this is no, this is actually at the George Floyd Memorial where he died. This is in Minneapolis. They live, say, 30, 40 miles west of Minneapolis in a place called Hampton, Minnesota. That is Hank's little great granddaughter. That's Addie. And
okay.
We went there. His grandson, who I feel like is my family member, Danny took myself and my son along with his daughter over there. And then we also went to the Mall of America. That was in 2023. This year, we went to Paisley Park. So I got to get one up on Hank because he sponsored all that, and I got to figure out how to get him back for that.
Okay, so my next question to you is this.
I might be losing you. Might be losing you.
Can you hear me now, Miss Frankie?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what was going on there. But so the question that I asked is, how do you stay motivated during creative blocks or difficult times?
Well, I don't force it. I definitely don't try to force that because, I might write 5 songs and then have a block, and then I might come back and write 10 more. Or I might write one that I consider a monster. So I don't try to push it. I'd rather not write nothing at all than to write junk.
Yeah. All right. 2 more questions before we play this last song and get out of here.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any specific artists or genres that influence your work?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm influenced by oh my God. I'm huge influenced by Dolly Parton and Loretta Lynn, of course, in country music, but as well, I loved Whitney, Roberta Flack. I was absolutely just completely crazy about Dionne Warwick. I loved Barbara Streisand, Celine Dion. I mean, there's tons of people that have inspired me. I mean, I could sit here all night and talk about Reba McEntire, all the people that have inspired me. Patsy Cline, my goodness, several people. Tammy Wynette, um, just tons of people.
Okay. And the last question is, what's next for you creatively? Do you have any upcoming projects or collaborations you can share with the people?
Well, creatively, I want to finish my EP and get it out where people can hear it. And I really plan to do some touring next year. I'm real adamant about getting out and touring and learning how to tour and meeting people and letting them hear my music.
That's awesome.
Now, my challenge before we play Shaq, my challenge to America and the world is to try to figure out a way to celebrate through your grief, to keep that person's memory close to your heart, but
Absolutely.
celebrate all the great things that you remember about that person because they live on in you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to piggyback on that because I believe that, us as people, we have a hard time getting through those times when, like I said earlier on in the episode, that, when we lose someone, it's not the end. We'll see them again.
That's exactly right. And they
And
won't be suffering. They'll be better than they were when they were on this earth when we see them again.
absolutely, we will be with our loved ones once again and reunited in the kingdom of heaven with our Lord and Savior. And, that's something that we all should be looking forward to. So the best bet is to get right with life.
That's
That's the best thing that I can say. But, pain is a hard thing to deal with, especially when it's someone that you were very close to. So I understand that. And it gets easier. Well, it doesn't get easier to miss them because you're always going to miss them. But it gets easier to cope with the more you lean on God,
Yeah, that's right.
And that's what I'll say to everybody that's experiencing grief, because I'm experiencing grief. I'm sorry, I need to drink a little water. I'm going through it. Family members go through it as well, and lean on Him. The more you lean on Him, the more you can get through it.
You're right.
So I accept your challenge, and I know just what it takes to get through it.
I have to give them credit up in Hampton. I learned a lot from them. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
About carrying on with dignity. And I will tell you that Hank is just really respected in his area. That's where the 50,000 acre farms are that grow the corn and the peas and things for Green Giant. And I've never seen farms that big. I said to him, these people, neighbors, will never fight because you never see each other unless you just make it evident. I mean, can you imagine riding down the road and all of this corn that you're driving past, all of this belongs to one farm. And it's like going through a city and it's just one farm. I can't even fathom it, man. Huge. I never seen anything.
Well,
like
you know, if I'm gonna say how I feel about it, I would say, you know, you'd be feeding people with some of that corn for real. You know, we being technical, you know, that's just to me, you know, that's just how I feel, you know.
But my friend Tom got a song says, "I farm, you eat." So the next time you eat some beans, think about me. Just remember, I farm and you eat.
All right, that's pretty cool. So we're going to get into this song now that you gave us the backdrop and story behind this song. This is Shack on the Hill, Miss Frankie Staton. And listen, folks.
At the end, when I'm saying speak life, I was encouraging him to live, to not give up, you know. And they actually came to Nashville this year, and Hank got up and danced in this country bar and everything. And I'm like, wow. So, you know, I just encouraged him to speak life to himself, speak life to your life, you know. And every time I see him, the last thing I say to him is speak life. But I truly believe this man will live to be 100 years old or more.
All right, so we're going to get into it. We're going to play it, and then we're going to say our goodbyes and everything to the folks in YouTube land and Facebook land and everything after this.
All right.
Keep it locked in, folks. We'll be right back.
All right.
When she was 15, she gave him 3 sons and a daughter. He built them a log cabin on the Canadian border. They played gaze at the northern lights, dream with all their hearts under a billion stars. Oh, love lived at the place he named the shack on the hill. Could see how she hated to leave, so he said, I'm gonna number every log, take it apart, and build it back in Minnesota. At the shack on the hill. Then came the day that she said goodbye, carrying on angel's wings to the other side. To the other side. shows. A dog named Coco. Breakfast with friends at Joseph's. Great grandkids. Fun road trips. He's moving on and he knows it. He looks at the past that he can't make last. Each and every day, you ought to see the way that daughter looks at him. And love still lives at the shack on the hill. At the shack on the hill. Love still lives. Yes, it does. At the shack on the hill. You know it. Love still lives. Yeah, yeah. At the shack on the hill. You know you gotta speak life. Still lives. Speak life on the hill. Speak love, speak life. Love still lives. At the shack on the hill.
All right, that was pretty awesome. I liked it. It was definitely a more upbeat song, and I liked it very much.
Well, I like
When she was 15, she gave him 3.
that's something that actually happened, you know, that's real life.
Yeah, real life.
I like
Yeah.
a real life song, you know. But that was not a hard song to write. It's just that every time his daughter said, Daddy calls his house a shack on the hill, it just went through my body. And I'm like, I can write that, you know, and I would just think about it, you know. Didn't take long to write it at all.
Well, I think it was a heartfelt song, and you dedicated to him. So, and his family. So I think that was commendable, first of all, and I think that you're very inspirational because you like to give people
I do.
inspiration and love to touch the heart.
That's one of my spiritual gifts. That's my number one spiritual gift. I took the test that I'm a giver.
You took the test, huh?
I'm a
Tell
giver.
us about this test. What's the test you took?
Well, I took a test. I used to go to this church called Oasis, and they had 40 life groups, 40 different life groups. And I remember I waited on a lady, and she looked at me, and a total stranger, I never seen her before in my life, and she said, "You don't know your spiritual gifts." And I said, "I'm a musician." She said, "That's not it."
Hey.
And I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I'm a singer." She says, "That's not it." And so she said, "You need to find out what your spiritual gifts are." So when I was in this church service, they said, "We're going to have 40 life groups and you can come to them every Wednesday night for 6 weeks." I said, "I'm going to go." I went out there and I was looking at all the subjects and I saw spiritual gift class. I said, "I'm getting in there." And I got in this spiritual gifts class, and we had to take a test, and it asked us about, you know, what mattered to us, what touched our heart, and all. I mean, it was very strange to me, right? And then they
Well,
came back.
not strange, but I
It was,
get it.
and then
It could seem different.
the next week when we went back, they told us, "Here are your spiritual gifts, depending on the answers of your test." And I mean, I knew I was a giver, but I didn't know that was my number one spiritual gift. I thought it was music. And a very interesting thing happened to me in that class that kind of blew my mind. There was the lady that was teaching that class
Mhm.
on the 5th week looked at me and she said, "I don't know you. I don't know anything about you, but something will happen to you this week that will change your life." And I thought, well, what is she talking about? Something will happen to me that'll change my life. And that was the week that they reached out to me from England. She said something will happen. And then the next when I went back to last week, she said, get up and tell everybody what happened to you. And I was just kind of looking at her like, I said, you won't believe it. She said, oh no, I know something happened to you. And I said, they called me from England and they're playing my music all over Europe and I didn't know it. And she said, that is your real beginning. That's where it's going to happen for you at. So I mean, that was kind of mind boggling that she could predict something like that about my songs and stuff, you know.
Oh, that's pretty cool. You know, I think that God gave us all gifts. And just like you, I thought music was going to be the forefront of my gift as well. But now I am realizing that one of my gifts that God has given me is the ability to make people feel comfortable to share.
Yeah.
And I never really realized it until, you know, like family members that I'm around that I talk to, you know, they tell me like you have a gift and you have a way with people where they want to talk to you. So I'm appreciative of that gift that God has given me, and I won't take it for granted because sometimes people share things with me that they probably wouldn't tell people in their own family, you know.
Yeah.
And because of it, I'm very thankful.
And they probably want to unload it. You know, they probably want it, but they don't have nobody to talk to about it.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm here for. And this is why I got the pot and stirring the pot. Stir one time for me, Miss Frankie. Put your hand all the way up in the camera, all the way up. Lift that hand up so they can see it all the way stirred. That's right. Stir that pot.
Wow.
All right. So, Miss Frankie, I want to thank you for coming on.
You know,
thank you so much. And listen.
Thank you for listening to my music.
Hey, always. You know, anytime you want to come back on, and you're a legend. You know, I think, you know, this is something that should be accredited to those that paved the way. The legend should always get a spin in my book, you know. I'm hoping to have many more on the show. Yeah, they will. They will. People don't get it, but they will eventually. You know, I think you should go with the title "Finally Frankie." I really like that for your EP. But if you don't, I get it.
I might do it. I might.
I really like "Finally Frankie." But listen, it was a pleasure to have you on tonight. And listen, I wish you the best in everything that you do. You already know that. And I believe that, you know, you're very talented. You know, I go back and watch your live performance on the pot. That is one of my favorite episodes.
Really?
And I've done quite a few episodes out here. I'm on the road to 80. This is my 76th episode. So,
wow.
Yeah, you know,
that's
so
what a compliment. Thank you.
Yes, that is one of my favorite interviews. Interviewing you for the first time and you performing on the show was awesome. And I loved it. And when I went back and watched it, I got a little emotional because, you know, sometimes we can just be that as people. But, you know, it was a blessing to watch you perform. You know, it was one thing to watch it while you were doing it, but to go back and watch it, it was heartfelt. So I appreciate you for doing that. So I want to thank you for doing that so much. It meant a lot to me. And listen, anytime you want to come on, let me know. I'm a call away. You know that.
I'll be calling other people saying you should hear this person. You know, I'll be telling you about other people in Nashville.
Hey, listen, I'm all for it. You know, you bring them my way, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
You know, so thank you for coming. And folks, you just got another episode and we were starring. So until next time, folks, peace.
Bye-bye.